Hi everyone, Paddy here. Just a quick one to let you know the audio is not going to be quite as crisp this time. We had to record over Skype as we had some issues, so the audio won't be as buttery smooth as you're used to, but I assure you, the chat, it is buttery smooth.
It's episode 45 of O-T-H Humanities, and we are continuing our jamboree with Jams Cartier.
Jamboree 3, would you say?
Shush! It's not your time to talk yet. I haven't brought you in. Who is that? Who is that man in the background? How much is that ginger in the window? Can he get beyond those bars?
I'm not much a fan of this intro, I'll be honest.
Now, Bethesda then. So we're going to be talking about Bethesda's E3 2017 conference today. Welcome back, James Carter.
Hello.
Welcome back, Patrick Smith.
All right.
And here we go. Pete Hines walked out on stage looking rather sullen. It has to be said. He didn't seem to be in good spirits. It was almost as if like he was a robot that No, he kind of walked out. It was almost as if like has anyone seen Todd Howard? Has anybody seen? Oh, I've just had a text from Todd Howard. That's probably what you heard just then. Todd says, "Can't be arsed going to McDonald's." You deal with it.
The thing with Todd, though, is that like I've saw someone before the Bethesda conference put up like their schedule for the evening, and the slot for that was Todd Howard's Hour of Lies.
There was that thing on Twitter as well where somebody puts up like a picture of Todd Howard and said like missing Todd Howard last seen at the Switch reveal. Has anyone seen my son? Please send him home.
No Todd this year, which is strange because Todd, for all love him or hate him, he's a good presenter.
Who hates Todd Howard?
I don't know. I assume people must hate him. I mean, people hate everything, don't they?
Do you hate Todd Howard? I can't even say his name.
Todd Howard.
Yeah, I've slept a lot and had a massive coffee. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of hot towels. No.
Really? And next, and that's the end of the episode. Well, it's funny you should because it went into Bethesda land.
Before we do, what did you think about their intro with the kids?
I don't remember it.
Did you not watch that, James? You must have watched that. The intro of the video with all the kids.
Oh yeah.
Lots of kids talking about what their parents do, and then they went to the parents, and the parents said what their kids do. No, wait. It was nice. It was.
Good.
I mean, as much as we've seen lots of developers in the past couple of E3s talk about games they hope to be able to make and then abjectly fail at making, Mass Effect Andromeda.
How dare you?
It was nice. This was clearly more of an Ubisoft style. Bethesda is one big family, isn't it? Lovely type situation. It seemed, and that was quite nice. I thought.
I liked it. I was a bit disappointed though that didn't continue throughout their show. We'll get to like that the Bethesda land stuff later. But like I thought this was going to be like the kid introducing the game. Although on some of the later ones that would have been a bit iffy. A 5-year-old introducing a Doom game, for instance. Is that right? I mean, funny as that is.
You see, when Bethesda manipulate kids to their advantage, that's somehow fine. But when I take their tears to use to power my intergalactic starship, suddenly I'm the bad guy. Maybe I should be working in games. So Bethesda Land kind of twinkled and garbled and sort of was quite unimpressive from this startup, and then it went into Doom VFR.
Very clever title. I
Anybody
laughed
else?
my friggin' head off at that. I thought that was very clever.
It's good. Do you leave the house often?
No, not often.
No.
Yeah, I like Doom. Sorry, very Doom. Very Doom. Let's get it right. It's very Doom.
Do you kind of portal jump on this? Do you not like free roam?
It looks like it, yeah. And that's what was
It's
going to kill it for me, because me and Laura were talking about this because we were watching this one together.
Yeah.
And she's played when our good friend Pete came down and bought
Hines?
Yeah, Pete Hines came down and bought a Sony headset with him. We tried out the Batman game, and yeah, the whizzing around from point to point, like Laura couldn't do it for more than a few minutes. She's like, "Nope, we've got to take this off. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be sick."
Because I'm sure with Resident Evil they were saying that or Resident Evil 7 rather, that it's a little weird at the start because the way that they've got the turning is in incremental bits on VR. It's not just a kind of sickening super swing either way, and that takes a little while to get used to. But when you're in, and it just seems really weird that we've had this big sprawling adventure that's used VR really well, and all of a sudden we're going to portal jumps.
I suppose it's about making it so you can walk around. If they've not got the tech right, if they've not managed to make it so you don't feel baffy, because let's be fair, Doom's quite like the pace of Doom is and then you pick up a new gun, and then it's just more like Doom's go, and I think in a speedy scenario. I mean, one of the demo games I played, VR games I played, was one of the ones on the PlayStation Move, or like the VR Worlds disc, where you had control of an alien spaceship, and you walk the spaceship around. So you're sitting, but you're walking the spaceship about, and it's fine for a bit, and then you feel barfy. Like when it starts kicking off and things start going busy, you're like, I cannot keep up with this. This is too immersive now. I need a break. I need to breathe. Like I need to pause. I need to take a minute. And as cool as Doom VFR looks, I think it would be quite barfy to play.
Yeah, I mean, even Fallout 4 VR when it was shown last year, I'm sure Jeff Kanata said they used a teleport, like jump forward system, rather than have you actually move around.
Yeah, they got that in this one, I think.
Yeah. So this looked a bit like Blink. It looked like you were actually reaching your hand out to point somewhere and then pulling yourself towards a location with a kind of purplish, bluish, like lightning strike sending you there.
Like Nightcrawler.
Yeah, exactly like that. Blink from Dishonored was what I was going to go for, given it was a Bethesda game, but I'm presuming it's the same tech because it looks similar, or similar enough, which led me to believe that this is not going to be the full campaign, is it? Because if you could zip around like that, it would break that campaign, surely.
Every jumping puzzle would then not work.
Yeah, and you'd just be able to scoot around objects without retooling the entire thing. I wondered if this wasn't maybe going to be some kind of horde mode challenge room type thing.
I'd agree with you. I think it must be.
Maybe based in some of the levels they have, but if they can't restrict your movement in some similar way to the way that you're limited by the distance you can jump in the main game.
Maybe. I mean, the game, Doom is. It's not about taking cover. It's about how you move around as well as
stay in the move. Yeah.
Like you're running and jumping, and it's all together. Like it's a solid component. You're not moving to a place, doing some fighting, then moving to another place. It's all together, isn't it? Yeah. So the fact that it is such an abstract moving system means it must be some sort of horde type mode. Like
I would think so. Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if it wasn't.
It was interesting to hear VR mentioned without the prefix. It's about time I sold my PlayStation. It's just I just couldn't really be less interested in VR, and everybody just seems to be flogging their PSVRs that they bought last year. Now the gimmick is over.
Like a lot of these were shown on the PC stuff, weren't they? It looked very sort of HTC Vivey, didn't it? And Oculus.
Who's buying it though, other than like barristers and footballers?
Well, the idea is that you sell your house so you can afford the VR set. Then you haven't got to worry about bumping into furniture because you haven't got a house anymore.
It's just that, to be honest, everything looks shit on VR, apart from Resident Evil 7, where you can go, there's a little bit of ambition there. Somebody's actually done something pretty decent and pretty... I'd say like a bridge towards the mainstream, because it'd be like, this is the sort of game that you play and you can really get involved in, but you can immerse yourself further. And I don't see that level of immersion, which is the way that everybody sold VR before it happened, that it's just going to be a new way to play games and stuff. And yet it's just been like crappy sort of arcade games, and like just look rubbish. Like, you could say stuff like what was that PlayStation survival horror game from last year, the year before?
PT?
No, the one with all the other people that start
Until
getting
Dawn.
bumped off. Until Dawn, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that would be incredible in VR.
Well, they did
The Funhouse thing, didn't they?
the Rush of Blood. Yeah, was it called? Yeah.
So
Ghost
they
Train.
did do it, but not like you wanted.
Yeah,
Like
not
a shitey
cool.
ghost train. It's
Like a shitey ghost train.
yeah. It's
Alternative
just,
title. Yeah, that's what it's called in Germany.
I just don't. Shiten ghost training. That's not right. That's just me putting EN on the end and doing a stock European accent. We've been playing Wolfenstein, so it doesn't really matter. So Blitzenmensch. So yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. That's the point where you see something like this and you go, I'll check my phone. And then I looked up, and then Fallout 4 VR.
You check your phone again?
Is there anything I've missed on my phone?
Check my phone.
I put these socks on this morning. Oh, I'm a bit thirsty.
Is that the same thing? Was that also using the VoIP move? I didn't see.
Jump, yeah. The BAMF.
Yeah, the VoIP.
They should just do a Nightcrawler game.
First person X-Men title, but you only use Nightcrawler, or maybe Cyclops, where you just like stare at the thing you want to die, and then everything goes
bright
red.
and then explosions.
Yeah. Like, use
yeah,
the
but
tech.
If you were Cyclops, you would still have to move. I suppose you could either
just sit still.
You could either be Nightcrawler or Professor X with his wheels taken off.
Oh, that would work. You're sitting in the little chair, and you use your PlayStation controller thing or your little handset thing to kind of use as the joystick to move the chair about. The one from the one from the cartoon, the big yellow one. I'd play that.
Is this the? Yeah, I can see that now. Is this the full campaign, or is it just like a little town? Or
It looks like it, yeah.
I think they said full. It's the full game. It's good.
Oh,
It's
so
going to
they're
be
mapping
full
it
map,
in.
full thing, everything.
See,
But
this
you-
is my worry again is that this is
something.
the same problem that like it's being added on to an existing game. It's not like a game that's being built for VR. They're just kind of retrofitting it to make it work.
I suppose
and
you
what
can
I
say
saw-
about Resident Evil 7 that they had VR in mind clearly when they were doing it. So, but I'm not seeing these experiences come anywhere else. I'm not seeing anything else with that sort of ambition or that sort of appeal to the regular sort of games market, I guess.
And what I saw of the actual gameplay of that as well, like the shooting and stuff looked horrible. Like you couldn't see hands either. Like it was just guns floating around in space. I know that's kind of a limit of the tech, but it was a bit jarring to me just seeing these guns flailing around and shooting wildly and looking like it was the hardest thing in the world to actually aim.
Yeah, I think there is there seems to have been an aspect. I've only ever played one game in VR, and that was back at EGX 2013, at a time when you could have been fooled into thinking that VR was about to become the future of gaming, like imminently, because it was right in that period of, any time now it's going to happen, and it just didn't, and now it has. It does seem like VR games need to be judged on their own terms, i.e. as a subset of VR games, because they seem to need to do so many things differently in terms of traversal, in terms of the way you move, in terms of how long you're going to be able to play a game for and what sort of experiences it's going to be able to offer. It does seem like, albeit I don't have a VR headset, I'm not speaking from vast experience like someone like Jeff Kanata does, but it does just feel to me like once you're in, you're probably all in. But like Farpoint was going to be this really, it was going to be a VR shooter that people who had VR could kind of get behind as, here's what VR can do. And pretty much it seems like the response to that has been, it's an alright VR game, and if it wasn't VR, it would be entirely inconsequential.
Mm-hmm. And you're getting stuff like, it's we're jumping to other companies now, but is it Rigs, the Guerrilla Games UK
Guerrilla
one,
Cambridge,
which seemed kind of quite fun, quite different, quite groovy, and then all of a sudden, like, now we're not really supporting this anymore, and we're going to close that studio down. And I don't know, it just I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Get behind
Let's
it or
move
don't.
on.
Yeah, fuck. What was next?
So, Elder Scrolls Online Return to Morrowind.
Morrowind.
Morrowind. I thought for the longest time that Elder Scrolls Online wasn't doing very well, and but it must have kind of found its feet, and because they're still supporting it, and I know a lot of folks who really, really love Morrowind are quite excited about this, but don't know, I'm still a little taken aback by it. But it was also the third announcement, which just had no interest for me at all.
Yeah. I think this is another one. MMOs are kind of like VR games in that you have to measure them as successes on their own terms. So, yeah, I mean, the Old Republic seemed to not be doing well when people were judging it versus WoW, but actually on its own expectations and terms, it seemed to do well enough to carry on. I guess this is the same thing. They did open with this weird kind of video compilation that seemed to be good-looking teens reacting to trailer footage of, I guess, Morrowind in this game. I couldn't tell if they'd got players to watch the trailer and record their own responses to it, but it just seemed very teens react to. And if you're not someone who's into either Morrowind, the game, or Elder Scrolls Online, the game, I'm not sure that it means much to anyone, which I know those aren't, small numbers of people that are interested in those, but yeah, to me it was just like, I'm not seeing, I'm not getting anything
completely. Yeah, totally. I watched that little bit of that video and I was like, oh, these YouTube people are seeing a thing they recognise. Okay.
Yeah. I'm really glad they're happy, but
good for you, YouTube people. Again, enforcing the probably what should have been the drinking rule this year, which is, God, YouTube people are important, aren't they?
God, yeah, when I used the tears of good-looking teens to power my intergalactic starship that my previous intergalactic starship docks into,
barely gets you off the ground, I imagine.
We'll see.
We've yet to make it run off neat haircuts.
Well, at least they won't be going to your house.
It's fine. It looks fine. I mean, it looked like the sort of thing that if you played an online MMO that add that in, fine. I'm sure the Morrowind people are screaming at us right now, but, it's good for you.
Creation Club.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Paid mods, seemingly. So people that are making mods, getting money for making mods. Yeah. People that want to buy those mods, being able to give money to people that are making the mods.
I guess this is minimum safe distance from when paid-for mods blew up last time.
Yeah, it's already gone bad from what I've heard as well. Like, I was reading a Kotaku thing about it the other day, and it's these mod guys that say, we don't do it for money, and if we did, there's like 7 of us in the team. How do we work out who gets what cut of what bit of content? And then, like, it's only stuff that they approve, and then the new stuff we make, is that even going to work? Like, they're all just steaming angry about it from what I can see.
And the other problem was when they tried this on Steam, you had people stealing and repackaging and reselling someone else's mods.
Yes.
And if there's no one there checking who is the original author or creator of this mod, then how it's Android and iOS App Store with clones of clones of clones of clones of threes. How do you know who's the legitimate owner of the mod? Okay, this is now going to be curated, and I'm sure Bethesda, I guess, have thought all this through and think they can do it. But yeah, as you say, a lot of modders, that's not why they do it. For the ones that is, it opens up a whole can of worms, especially if your mod's paid for, but it requires someone else's mod to be installed because there's compatibility and dependency between different mods. So if I make a mod that requires Paddy's mod to be installed, should part of the money I make go to him? or on the basis that he's already been paid for his mod, is that fine then?
Yeah, like, because I mean, I've made the dick mod, you know, and if you've made the pubic hair mod, you know, my mod enables your mod, doesn't it?
And you wanted bald penises in your game, and here I come with my silly pubic hair.
Yeah.
Throwing it all over the place like confetti.
I want to stop podcasting forever.
I'm on Kane and Rinse regularly, people.
You're supposed to be classier than us.
I'm supposed to be classy, and I turn up on someone else's podcast and try and drag them down.
Pubic hair everywhere.
I'm sure Bethesda have thought this through. I'm sure there's stuff here that I'm not understanding, but it did just look like, didn't we do this 2 years ago, and didn't everyone have a meltdown? And didn't it take 2 days for Steam to pull paid for mods off?
Completely agree. Like, we've been here, right?
That ties in with the last comment really well.
But which games are they going to put mods in? Can anybody listening guess? That's right, Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Who'd have thunk it?
The game that never dies.
The mods that are on the Xbox One version of Fallout 4, I'd say are really good. That you know, there's loads that you can choose from, obviously like free and stuff.
Yeah.
But you can plug them into the game, and the only difference is that you don't get trophy achievements.
Yes,
if you've got like mods plugged in and stuff. I mean, I don't know, because I think the PlayStation versions have got a lower file limit. Probably Jim Ryan's fault. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's another one of those things where I just kind of looked and went, all right then. But seemingly those caveats are dank memes.
Yeah.
So far, CJ, your Bethesda show has been.
Let's carry that on with Elder Scrolls Legend card game for phones.
Cool. I played that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so CCG's great. We all know what Magic is. Hearthstone obviously has been incredibly successful, but they actually, the quote that they put at the sort of beginning of this was Elder Scrolls Legend, the first challenger to the CCG throne.
Well, that's, I mean...
Is that challenger to Magic because Hearthstone exists? Is that challenger to Hearthstone because they're 10 a penny CCG games?
Maybe like what does CCG mean? Sorry, for
a collectible card game,
and not for me, obviously.
Collectible card game like Magic the Gathering, where you build a deck by buying packs of cards and collecting a full set and making a deck out of them.
But then never actually using them and putting them in cases and never actually selling them.
Yeah. A bit like Gwent has turned out to be. Again, Gwent. Yeah. Another example of a game that's up and coming. And I didn't even know this existed. And I'm sure it was mentioned at last E3 or the one before. And again, to people who really like Elder Scrolls Legends, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to take a dump on your game, but let's not beat around the bush. There are plenty of challengers to the CCG throne, if anyone recognises there is one in the first place.
Tell you what, how about this? A CCCG, computer collectible card game. How about that?
How about a CCCJ, a computer collectible card game at me?
There are no challengers to your throne, CJ.
All my different copies.
Collectible coffee games.
And Gurning. The great thing about knowing kind of what we might be getting at this conference was it did sort of equalise any thought that you might be like, oh Christ, I hope they haven't front-loaded this conference. So we kind of got back on track with Skyrim Switch Edition.
Fuck me running. What year is it?
Which...
We're announcing Skyrim again.
There was a great tweet last week where somebody said, question, what consoles is Skyrim on? Answer, yes.
It's 2052 and they're announcing Skyrim on the PlayStation 8.
It has amiibo support with just one amiibo to give you Link's costume and the Master Sword and motion controls.
Brilliant. I mean... Who's been waiting for Skyrim? Like, seriously, who's waiting for Skyrim on the Switch?
So I get the appeal of Skyrim on the Switch. It's handheld Skyrim.
Yeah.
I get the technical appeal of that. But yeah, this is a 5.5-year-old game at this point. By the time this comes out, if it makes it out by the end of the year, it's going to be a 6-year-old game. And it looked it on the Switch.
Yeah.
The reason it's lasted, this game, is you can play it on PC and you can pile mods on it that make it look like a modern contemporary game.
I will say this though, that there haven't really been that many big games for the Switch, as in of massive scope, since Breath of the Wild. And if somebody is going on a big train journey or they're commuting and stuff, there's got to be an attraction to kind of, I'll play Skyrim again, because it's going to be doing something that only Breath of the Wild, as far as I'm aware, has done on Switch thus far, which is give you a really massive adventure. Because after that, you've had Mario Kart, and you've got your arcade games coming up, like your Splatoons and stuff. But there's nothing of that caliber of adventure, and that sort of I'm no big fan of Skyrim, but that sort of ambition of a game. And I can see why people who love that game and maybe haven't played it for a while might come back after all this time and just go, I fancy that on my commute, or I'm going abroad in a bit, or I've got a long train journey to visit relatives, or I can see why those people would be excited for it.
The problem with it though is that I did this a few months ago. I got an itch to play some Scrim, and I was like, Laura's on the telly, she's playing Final Fantasy 15. I was like, you know what, I could play Skyrim again. It's like a $5 on a GOG or a Steam sale. I was like, oh, go on then. I installed it away and I started playing, and then within 2 hours, you're like, this game is 5 years old now, and it feels it. It feels old, and that's a terrible thing to say, but it doesn't play nice anymore. I don't think it's even like the running and talking to people. Like, I've done that stuff. For the person who's already played Skyrim, I don't know how many hours you'd put into it on Switch if you're playing it again. But then again, Skyrim people are fucking mental.
But you've got that.
I got bored within about 2 hours. Like, I've done all of this before. I don't want to do this again, and it didn't play nice. Do excuse me. That's my house phone. I'll be one moment.
Fucking commitment.
Right, carry on.
So, yeah, we've moved beyond Skyrim to Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, which is coming in September, which is standalone disc-based adventure, much like Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. What did you think of the showing here, Mr. James?
CG trailer looked very Dishonored, looked very stealthy stabby, and it's Dowd and Billy going to take down the Outsider, which I've heard more than one person wonder aloud if that's not them wrapping up Dishonored, on the basis that we heard last year that Dishonored 2, amongst a couple of other games towards the end of the year, didn't quite do as well as was expected. I'm wondering if they've decided to wrap the story up. I hope they haven't. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's just speculation, because obviously the Outsider is the character running through this Dishonored games that kind of, as far as my understanding, only having played the first, decides to give people powers essentially, and is a key character. And if Dowd and Billy are planning on killing the Outsider, that would suggest that Dishonored is not going to carry on, possibly. But hey, maybe that's just them teasing an assassination attempt and perfectly happy to carry on with Dishonored.
Did you play the second one?
I haven't played the second one. No, I haven't.
It's gone for like about £8 already now, which is just a stunning fall from grace price-wise. It's really strange.
I've heard fantastic things, and it is one I want to get to. Just haven't had time with Zelda and Neo-shaped games taking up much of the early part of the year. I just haven't got to it.
Patrick?
Yeah, no, into this. Again, it's a CG trailer. You can only get so much out of that, but it's from the start. Like, this is Dishonored. Oh, hello. And I again, like James, I haven't played the second one yet, but I like the overall premise of let's go kill God, yo. Into that. That sounds brilliant. What it means for the series, like, is this the end? Because, like James was saying, all the powers flow out of the outsider, really. You're killing, a Willy Wonka of magic. Will you go up the Great Glass Elevator and take over the factory? Who knows? But I'm into it. I'd play it. It looks great.
Cool. So we then went to Quake Champions, which we saw as a CG bit and bob.
Fire the esports cannon.
Yeah. This was kind of the first time since EA that we really had a game being... I get esports is big business, but is it just me? A lot of games or genres even that we consider esports related now, they weren't designed to be that. There was a competitive scene that gathered around fighting games, that gathered around Counter-Strike.
It's the people that decide if something becomes an esport, not you coming out and saying it's an esport and trying to bring the people in.
Exactly. And Quake Champions, let's face it, if there was a game in terms of first-person shooter that was going to be competitive, of course, Quake, as an arena shooter, it's going to be the one. And Quake Champions has introduced champion characters that the developers don't really want to call classes because they don't want to suggest that you play the game differently. It's still Quake, still plays the same, etc. I don't doubt, especially if they're willing to put up a $1 million prize pool at QuakeCon for a World Championships. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be people playing this in order to be competitive and hopefully become professional Quake Champions players. And from what I've heard, despite my reticence after the trailer last E3, this is a good game. Carl off of Cane and Rinse, big fan of it, and I've heard a few other people say, actually, yeah, the beta has been really good. You can get a beta key from the Quake Champions website now and get involved. And I was half expecting them to release this very soon on the basis that the beta seemed to have gone down fairly well. But I don't know if they're maybe going to hold it in limbo for a while just to make sure it's properly balanced and everything. But it does all feel a little bit like, as long as we make a big song and dance about this being our esport, people will believe it.
Yeah, I agree. I've noticed a big swing this year in just the phrase esports being said so much. Like, is nothing allowed to just be multiplayer anymore? Like, everything, like, new, like that. What was it? That awful sounding shoutcasty thing from the Microsoft show.
Oh, yeah, you're right, actually. I said there wasn't anything since EA's, but actually, no, you're absolutely right.
They yelled esports in the middle of that.
The Darwin Project.
That's the one. Yeah, that thing. Yeah. Why? Like, and you've got a Quake World Championship, right? But it's in beta, so the game's not out, but you're having a World Championship, so it's finished then.
They did say everything was out this year at the end of it, so I presume
If I've heard that wrong, then fair enough. But I was like, well, are you saying it's finished or it's not? I don't know. Yeah. Esports and like the thing is for Quake, like Quake for me, like the game wise, outside of all the esports crap, like it looks like a good game if you like that kind of thing. Way too fast and shooty for me. I couldn't keep up. Like, you just see these kind of impossibly fast Sonic the Hedgehogs running around throwing rockets at each other. I could never keep up with that shit. Not a chance in hell. Yeah. Quake's not for me, man.
No, not for me either. So now the two games that are worth giving an arse about. We've got
get your drinks ready, folks.
So we've got Evil Within 2, which is coming out on Friday, October the 13th, and this trailer was fantastic.
I thought so. I saw some comments that people were hoping if it's coming out so soon we'd see some gameplay, but I thought this set the tone really well.
The only criticism I can have of this trailer is that it was a very strange version of Duran Duran's Ordinary World that was on it, and the bloke that came in seemed to sing some sort of really bizarre version of the chorus towards the end of it, like really off key and sort of, this is my own version of this. Well played, mate. Well, I thought it looked really, really good, and I played the original, and it scared the pants off me very, very quickly. That is a game that just does not mess about when it comes to kind of leading you into the big scare. It's there very, very quickly. And I was very frightened and didn't play it again, but want to. And I've got kind of this, I've got the urge to dive back into it from watching this. Of course, we've had all the patches with it now, and they've removed the bars from top and bottom, should you wish, and I think they've altered like the field of view stuff. So all of those criticisms can be tinkered with to your preference, but it's going between about £5 and £10, depending on which format and which version you're going for. I really like the look of this. Thought it was fantastic and nice to see Mikami sort of doing the stuff that he's really good at.
Yeah.
Although he's
Absolutely.
good at a lot of things, as we know. But I thought it was a classy trailer. It was an ambitious trailer, and perfect day to bring it out on.
I thought the trailer was a bit long. It was like 5 minutes, and I was getting a bit bored by the end.
They've just given us 40 minutes of just somebody pulling toilet paper off a roll.
I know, but a 5 minute CG trailer for me is too much.
One of your T's on.
Right, put some like game in there. Like show me like what I've watched later of the actual game itself. Now I've not played Evil Within, so I could be off base on this, but I watched a bit of like gameplay clips of this a bit later. There's a few of them sort of surfaced.
Oh, I haven't seen that, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, like it wasn't much. They're like snippets, but they looked different in tone to the trailer.
Cool.
The trailer was going quite, for me, like the trailer was going quite, ooh, spooky, a white goop, and there's a little girl. Oh, but she's on fire. She can't get her. Ooh, and then it cuts to the game, and you're walking around a dirty place again. It looked different. It looked like it didn't. There was a disconnect between what I saw in the CG trailer and what I know of what the game actually is.
But I will introduce this, that I saw people watching it who had played and adored the first game, who were looking and not being this level of removed of looking in, going like, oh my god, it's this, oh my god, this, and you know their heart was really tugged by it because they cared about the person that was there, and they picked up on all the nuances that they were chucking into that very surreal and very bizarre trailer. Because when the stuff that I have played of the original wasn't what I thought it would be. It's a lot. It's much more bonkers than I thought it would be. It's not sort of a straight ahead, sort of grim and gritty.
No, it definitely
sort of
wanders into the macabre and
into the psyche and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm really taking this, I must admit, James.
I thought the trailer was great. I had a dig around. Mike Diver on Twitter afterwards was wondering aloud something that I'd been trying to work out, which is whose cover is this? And I came to the conclusion this was one recorded specifically for the trailer, because of all the dozens of covers of this song, the only two that I could find that were kind of rocky-ish were one was by a band called Red and another by a band called Rust, and neither of them sounded anything like this. So I came to the conclusion this was recorded specifically for the game, and therefore it may not be a band that did it. It may be musicians within the studio or were contracted specifically. So we may never find out. But it was a bizarre cover, and I think that actually worked for me because the trailer, as it went on, I mean, the evil milk was obviously recurring throughout, and the girl who I think is supposed to be the main character's daughter, who obviously there's I got sense of his guilt, wanting to save her, failing to save her, and the ever creeping and increasing amount of threat and danger that he was in. I thought it was really well done. I thought it clearly had a lot in there that would speak to people who'd played the first game. I played the first 3 chapters. I think I got into the 3rd chapter and stopped. not for any particular reason other than I'd rented the game and thought, okay, I'll pick that up on Steam and play it some other time, and I just haven't got back to it.
I am surprised that there's not been a Game of the Year edition of the first one or the DLC, because
there was DLC, wasn't there?
The DLC was I don't know. There's been a mixed reception for it, but generally it's been pretty well received because you play his partner, I believe. The first two DLCs, you have no combat. I think it's just sort of stealth stuff, and the third one is just be more action based. And they got the sister from Dexter to voice the character, which I think is pretty neat. But yeah, that's kind of turned my head a little bit. But it all adds to kind of fancying picking this up. And like I say, it's going between £5 and £10 on disc anyway now, and the season pass is about £15. So yeah, I'm kind of up for this now, especially because it's summer. So if I am being like a crybaby, I can see daylight outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Throw the curtains open and take an occasional glance outside.
You know what I mean, though, within the fact that when you I'm sure it's really near the start of the game when you go into that house. There's that massive thing wandering around with a hatchet that we saw in like the original trailers and stuff, and you're hiding behind boxes. And when he kind of senses you, I genuinely had no disconnect between the telly and me holding the pad. I was really frightened by it.
I might have got a bit of a disconnect on the fourth or fifth time of dying, but the first few times it was genuine. Even afterwards, with genuine terror being felt by me, just because you knew as soon as he saw you, there was no getting away. You were done for. So yeah, no, absolutely.
Paddy, I bought you a present that was 2 presents the other day, and I put it into the post, and I spent £4.40 getting it to you the very next day. Talk about that present that is 2 presents.
You got me a present that was 2 presents, so it's somewhat related to what we're going to talk about soon. The present that CJ gifted to me, which was very good timing because I was just getting interested, was both of those new Wolfenstein games, New Order and The Old Blood. And I put one of them on last night, and I had a very good time with it. After getting excited by the demo that we saw at this E3 trailer, I was like, oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, give that a go, yeah. That's pretty
You
fun.
bought the PS3 version, didn't
I bought the PS3 version.
I was like, Christ, Paddy!
I found it for like $5. I was like, go on in. You know,
I was sending him a present as a surprise, and then I was like, I kind of don't put that on. It's not very good on last gen. You were like, no, give it a go. I was like, partner, I've got you that hand. I've got you the old.
It was excellent timing, wasn't it?
So what are your impressions of the New Order, the first one then from you cracked through a good chunk of that last night.
I've done like 2 hours of it. Like I've gone through the prologue, and I've gone up to when you're trying to get a car of old Polish people through a checkpoint. But no, it's fun, man. Like it's a good, solid, fun shooter. Controls are really nice and tight. Like I didn't feel like I was cocking up too. Well, I cocked up quite a bit. But like I didn't feel like it was like the game's fault. It was me that was fucking it up. I really like the actual characters. You know, BJ Blazkowicz is just a proper dude, just a proper man.
Without the cliches of kind of being like blokish or sort of because it's
not
really
Doom
weird.
Guy, is he? He's like
really
ideal
weird
man
with him because he's there's a masculinity and a bravado and a determination about him, but he's also really warm. And he cares about people, and that's the sort of thing that's pushing him on. And the script is fantastic throughout it. It sort of veers between sort of doofy and widescreen cinematic, but also sort of really quite scary and quite brilliant and enthralling. And there's so much in the mix that I think it constantly you constantly don't know what to expect. And in that first one, in particular, the way that he sort of brings the lad around that's freaking out on the is it in the plane? I think he's freaking out.
Yeah, he walks out and just slaps him in the mouth.
The Scottish guy who just before everything's going to crack off, he was like, "I'm just nipping for a piss." You've got, but the thing that really drew me in is the hospital sequence is astonishing. The level of drawing me into the point that I am not going away after seeing that and seeing what's going on around sort of Billy before he comes around is just, and the point that he picks up the knife, Jesus Christ.
Thing is, yeah, I was okay with that being like tremendous coincidence of he's suddenly alive again, like he's ready to go, and like, oh, the Nazis have come in, oh, he's out of his coma now, brilliant. But I'm fine with that because it was so well played. Like, yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
So it, I've been playing the first one this morning, and whilst the first time that I played it, like a few years ago, I had it on the harder difficulty, not the hardest, but the harder difficulty. I think egged on a little bit by Uber Gamer Andy Hamilton. But today I was playing on sort of the normal mode, and it was just a fun palace of joy. Not that the hard mode wasn't, but it was just like run around, sort of really making super progress, and it was a joy fest. I liked it lots.
It is. Right, I'm gonna have to take a break quite there because my sister's here for the saw. I'll be right back.
So, Evil Within 2 trailer, I must admit, I've watched so many times, like more than anything else during E3. I've watched this trailer from start to finish.
Do you mean Wolfenstein 2?
Oh, yeah. Why did I say Evil Within 2? Yeah.
You're leaving that in.
Cut that. Cut down. God, Ginger.
It's my edit. I do what I want.
Do you have a ginger wanker in your life? Call this number now. Conservatives are waiting to answer. You shite ass. Wolfenstein, the new Colossus, I have watched this trailer like uberly. No pun intended. But I've watched it loads. I've watched the individual Liesel kind of trailer loads.
I love that. So I hadn't been familiar with that like beast from the game. Like before this thing hadn't played it, so I was like, I'm sitting there on the side going, what the fuck is this? What is this fever dream I'm having? Is this Fallout DLC? What is this stuff?
The Blitz and Mensch one I only saw on Jeff Keighley's E3 Colosseum, and I've not been able to find it on its own since, and had to search back through like half an hour to watch it again. If you've not seen it, it is basically a cartoon opening to the Batman TV series, but then cuts to like live action actors who are playing like Blitz and Mensch, like a Lightning Man, I think that is, isn't it? And then the illegal, is it the illegal eagle, like the bad guy,
and
absolutely. The kind of floor line that's in it as well. But it's so well done. I loved it, but I genuinely watched these trailers hugely, and on the talk with on the E3 Coliseum, they were saying that with the dual wielding now, you'll now be able to hold a pistol with a silencer in one hand and a massive gun in the other, so you can wander around, you can take people out silently, and you're instantly ready to just cause chaos. It's like, yeah, well played.
That's nice.
And that's when I was saying to Paddy today that they had this sort of saying. They were like, when you're discovered, it's not game over, it's game on.
Yeah, I thought that interview was really good actually with the Machine Games guys.
Did you see the bit where they were saying about meeting the guys behind like the original? Because they were Quake modders originally.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sort of meeting the heroes and stuff,
and just
they were really
pitching
cool.
this game or the first game to them. Yeah, just dream come true. And they've taken it with both hands and done, I think, more than anyone could have possibly expected with this series. I remember back in 2013 and 2014, the expectation was rock bottom for this game, and this was actually before Bethesda made a policy of theirs. This was what I think the first game of theirs where they just didn't send out review copies.
Yeah.
And that just raised red flags everywhere. And I think I don't think I knew anyone who expected anything than the worst from Wolfenstein: The New Order. And yet now we come to the point where Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus is closing the Bethesda show is hands down the thing that seemingly people wanted to talk about, in terms of they've really gone for it with the kind of alt history and Germanification of American TV and culture. They're now referring to as Germericana, I think they said.
Yeah.
For this one, and they're just going in on it, and it's great. It really is. I mean, the notion of a Nazi, not just Nazi occupied, but Nazi run America. And I think they said in that interview that this is at the point where the Nazis are trying to force German as the main language in America. This is kind of the last point of the big turning point of their propaganda machine, where if they can get American people to start speaking German and abandon their native tongue, then they think they've broken the back of the country.
Did you see the bit where Danny O'Dwyer asked if they'd seen The Man in the High Castle, and they were like, "No, I'm aware of it, but I don't want to watch it now because because
we're doing similar things,
just in case it influences sort of what they're doing or pushes them away from something that they might have done naturally." But Pad, could you say this kind of really piqued your interest on Wolfenstein?
Yeah, like this has properly opened my eyes to the franchise, because I knew that the last couple of games that came out were good, but I'd never really kind of interacted with them online. I'd sort of heard about them, but I'd never really sought them out. But no, like this is a proper trailer, funny, full of heart, full of charm. Action looked good, characters looked good. Even the bit at the end where he did some drugs and a magical.
That was brilliant.
I love that so much.
That
and
scene
the actor's delivery is just like, you need to be so quiet. Then like lifting it up towards his ear and like. It just even the bit with the guy with the mechanical arm when he was like trying to eat the biscuit and everybody just started looking, and then he was like smashing it into his cheek and stuff. Was the tone was, brilliant. And I mean this in the best way possible, all over the place, and I loved it.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got not a new BJ, but a new body for BJ. At the beginning, he is seemingly unable to walk, and at one point you see him in a wheelchair, and then later on you see him in like a suit, essentially, and when you do see him as himself, he's got like a metal ring around his neck that seems to suggest he has some kind of head transplant at some point.
Really?
Or body transplant.
Because they've said the entire first level of this is in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
So yeah, opens up possibilities. Like, so in like the original Wolfenstein, like, and you fight the Hitler robot at the end, which is just a Hitler head on a robot body.
Yeah.
Could that mean you can stick your head on stuff? Because, okay, yeah.
Well, the black suited ninja looking character is BJ, because you see him when he's climbing up the lift shaft. You see that helmet retract from around his face.
Oh, yeah.
As they point the guns at him. So at least he's wearing a similar sort of suit. And yeah, you clearly see metal rings around his neck, and it looks like his head could be detached, essentially.
So that, for me, opens up like gameplay stuff as well. That means you can give him like, not Deus Ex, but like, you can give him some cool robot shit to do that won't seem out of, like, they can enhance the gameplay without making, like, we've got guns, we've got grenades, what else can we do? Like, they can give him some dumb stuff.
They can stick that head on a dog's body, or, whatever they want, really.
Yeah.
You could really go nuts with it.
Stick it on with the big robot
Liesel
dogs.
With BJ's head on the front of it.
BJ Liesel.
BJ Liesel, yeah.
One thing that we didn't sort of cover when we were talking about like the adverts at the start, because the full version came out later, was the Terrorbilly advert is so good, and also that kind of action figure being in with the special edition makes that the most attractive special edition that I've seen in a long time. It isn't just like a statue or anything; it's Terrorbilly in the old packaging. And that advert is just superb. Even the point where like the kid's making the Fraulein kind of knee him in the face, like,
oh my god, I was dying at that. Just smack. Like,
they're just the best adverts, and even the stuff in that trailer that was, the bit with the grenade. I thought was just super great, but way of introducing a character that you're going to be sharing a journey.
In a trailer, you already feel like you know who those characters are.
They've actually done the thing that Hollywood doesn't do very well, where they've instilled a level of anticipation and curiosity that I think is going to bring new people to the series. And again, like when Paddy put up about receiving the present for me, and I retweeted it from Twin Humanities page. Andy Hamilton was like, "It's really great to see so many people coming to the New Order that have never played it before, and I'm picking it up." So with these trailers being so good and the early games sort of falling sort of to cheaper prices now, I'm wondering if that's going to have more of a sort of a groundswell of people that end up coming to this and just going day one.
Yeah. The only downside, obviously, is that 2 weeks beforehand, Evil Within 2 comes out, which isn't really a direct competitor or anything, but it comes out on the same day. This is now the second game with a 27th of October 2017 release date. We've seen the first being Assassin's Creed Origins and the next being Mario Odyssey. Again, they're not necessarily similar games, but that's, I guess, kind of the downside of being in this period where games tend to be announced and then released within 6 months, maximum a year, is that you don't get an idea of what's coming from a long way out enough to be able to kind of plan to avoid other big games. So yeah, I don't know if someone's going to blink. I doubt it's going to be Wolfenstein, just on the basis of the reaction they've seen here. And the fact that it kind of looks like it's not done, but that trailer had gameplay built into it. It gave the impression that they were kind of well on their way, you know?
Yeah, very, very confident, I think.
I keep flip-flopping as to which game I think might end up getting pushed back from 27th of October, because I don't think it's going to be Mario. I think if Nintendo put a date on it, they must be confident of it being ready by then.
Mario's apparently been done for a long time.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Game's finished sort of huge amount of time before, but it's Christmas. There's no kind of backing away from it, is there? So.
And Assassin's Creed, I think they've been building up for 2 years to Assassin's Creed coming back. I can't see them wanting to shift their date either. And Wolfenstein came out in May last time. It was like March to May time. I can't remember the exact date for the New Order. So I could see that getting put back six months or so, but I'm not sure why they would with the response they've had here. So as I say, I keep flip-flopping and what's going to happen, because I just can't imagine those 3 games all coming out on the same day.
But what an amazing way to end the show. But a strange show in of itself. I think that there was just a huge amount of this that I just really wasn't interested in at all.
I think it did get better as it went through.
2 beauties.
To be fair. And for some people, Fallout and Doom and Fallout VR is a big enough deal. But for me, my interest certainly increased as we went through. And the first, I think, 5-6 game announcements, I was just... It was very much, oh, great, there will be some people who are interested in that. None of them are me. But from Dishonored onwards, like Quake, I didn't like the way they presented it, but happy to see that game's doing well and going to be coming out soon. But Dishonored, Evil Within, Wolfenstein was just like, you know, it was 3 pretty big hitters as far as I was concerned. I thought they did pretty well with all 3 of those, and captured my interest, certainly.
Mr. Patrick?
Yeah, I'm very, very similar for me. You know, the first half of this show, I sat there and I wrote a couple of notes down and checked my phone a bit, and it's not for me, you know. VR games, I'll look at them, but I'm not going to buy them. You know, Skyrim again, brilliant. Moving on, like Elder Scrolls stuff, cool. No, but like you say, towards the end, once Dishonored 2 kicked in, that's when eyes are open. Hello, what's this now? I think my main problem with Bethesda with this show is, again, the show got better as it went on. Like, finished on Wolfenstein 2, brilliant, really, really good, strong ending. Gave it the time that I think it deserved. They used the time better than I think Evil Within 2 used its time. Because Wolfenstein was like 9 minutes, but it kind of really kind of went into it.
Didn't feel like it was
9 minutes. Yeah, it was a long time. And I wanted more. When it finished, I wasn't bored by it. It was like, this is all really cool. My problem with the way they presented it with the Bethesda Land stuff is that essentially what they made is a series of trailers and made people queue up to sit in a cinema to have Pete Hines come out for 2 minutes at the start, then piss off for 45 minutes and come back at the end and say, wasn't that fucking insane?
Yeah.
Ooh, that was terrible. And if I waited outside for probably a couple of hours to get into this place, to sit down and have that be it, just, hey, here's a series of trailers, and then 45 minutes later, cool, bye, I'd have been well pissed off. And I think we'll get to this later, but I think, Sony hinted at this, they flirted with this themselves as well, to the detriment of the show. But we'll get there later. But yeah, for me, it was a very, the games they showed by the end were great, but as a show, it was a big fat nothing.
Yeah,
they could have just put all that on. It literally just queued up all their trailers on YouTube and pressed go.
Yeah. Dare I say they could have made a Bethesda Direct. I do have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this, because a few years ago when Nintendo announced they weren't going to do a conference, they'd release a Nintendo Direct, which would be a video that would show the games they had coming. There was, and still is, and I don't dispute people's opinions on this, they're entitled to see it the way they do, but there was this notion that Nintendo weren't trying, that they couldn't be bothered to do a press conference because they had no games, their console wasn't doing well, who cared anymore? And I think they have steadily showed that doing a Nintendo Direct once every month or two throughout the year with a showcase one at E3 is actually working for them. It means they control the way the game is showed. They can insert little skits, little bits. They can have Reggie, or they can have Muppet characters of some of the top brass, and they can make it fun. But they know that when they press go on their video, they have a captive audience. It's the same video that's then up afterwards, so if you don't see it live, you don't miss out. And they know that they have a finished, polished way of presenting their games. Now, I get that removes the chance of having some cringeworthy or disastrous thing happen during the show that we all like to laugh at and snark about. And
dare
whatever.
we say meme-worthy.
Exactly. But I've actually come round to thinking that that's not just, I don't know why people think this is so bad. I actually think it's worked really well for them. And I get it's not for everyone. Tony, off of Kane and Rinse, finds it very sterile because you don't get the personal touch so much. I think you do. I think they still have their developers and their studio heads, etc., on there. And I get that it doesn't have the atmosphere, is the way I would put it probably, of having a live audience there reacting. The reaction's all on you. But given that we know that in the conferences, the first 3-4 rows are packed with people from the studio or people who are primed to whistle, yell, get up out their seat and bow at a stage. I don't get that reaction. But generally make a fuss. Means that the atmosphere that we hear isn't necessarily genuine anyway, or at least it's skewed, if not outright, misrepresenting the way people are actually reacting. But this show in particular, and Sony as well, I think we're guilty of this. What's the difference? What's the difference between seeing Pete Hines shuffle his way out, look miserable, throw out his bottom lip and walk back off, and press play on Bethesda Land and a dozen different trailers, and then that's this show?
Do you think that this kind of show will be affected by the way that people reacted to the Ubisoft show, with people saying developers came out, they were really passionate, they talked about stuff, and
I don't know, because Ubisoft not that long ago were getting a lot of stick themselves for who was presenting before Aisha started. They were getting a lot of stick for the person who was presenting not being likable, things going wrong. Nintendo had the Wii Music debacle that undoubtedly led to them not wanting live stage performance anymore, because Nintendo do care about the way that they present themselves, and to see people poke fun at them, I think probably would have hurt quite a bit. I think that would have dented their, just my perspective, no inside knowledge, no understanding of them beyond just what I see. But it does feel like a lot of the other shows, and even Microsoft to a certain extent, they didn't have that many people out talking about things. It seems like companies are more worried about putting, the live demos that go wrong, that they have to restart. We had Uncharted 4 had an issue, even just showing, I can't remember if even that was live gameplay. I think that was
it was.
But having someone there either playing or pretending to play, well, what's the point if you're pretending? But that gives a kind of frisson of tension, because something could go wrong. But the problem is, if something does go wrong, it's egg on the face of potentially everyone that was on that stage, because that's what overshadows any of the games. And I think what we're seeing is Bethesda and Sony and Microsoft to a certain extent withdrawing from that. They just don't want the risk of something going wrong.
I think you're right. For me, like, my overarching thought when, it gets to the end and Bethesda, Pete Hines came out twice, that was it. Do Bethesda have enough in their portfolio to justify a full show of this length? Because it felt like they said the Elder Scrolls an awful lot.
Yeah.
And that was the more overriding thought for me. I do. I completely agree with you on the public image thing. I think that by controlling how your stuff is shown, you make sure it comes out and it's exactly as you want. But see, for me, that's not what E3 is about, though. Like, the fun stuff that happens makes sure you remember it.
Yeah.
Would we remember Wii Music if it wasn't for what's his face Ravi doing his drums?
Ravi drums, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember
of course
it.
We wouldn't. No,
absolutely not.
I suppose they are delivering all of their stuff to people that love Bethesda, and also people that are just tuning in because it's an E3 conference. And
but like, as publishers go,
the majority of that show, which was of absolutely no interest to me, may well have had like people sort of foaming at the mouth that were into it.
But on a year when they don't have a Fallout or a Skyrim, like a new one to show, like, because that was a big part of their last year's one, wasn't it? Like, hey, here's Fallout 4, by the way.
So that was 2 years ago, and
was
I think
2 years ago now?
Yeah, 2 years ago was their first in 2015, because that's when Fallout 4 came out.
Oh, okay.
And I think then people were saying, "What, Bethesda? How have they got enough to warrant a press conference?" Because at that point, yes, Wolfenstein had already come out, but that meant we knew we weren't getting a new Wolfenstein. Yeah, Doom was in the works, but it was kind of, no one realized it was going to be the hit that it was. And so everyone thought, well, other than Elder Scrolls and Fallout, what do we really have? And we're not expecting anything related to either of those. And lo and behold, they had Fallout 4. And then last year, again, people were saying, well, if we're not getting Todd Howard announced and directed game, what really is there? And I think last year they managed to show that they did have enough, and I think just about this year they did, because as CJ, you said, there is stuff there that's not for me, and I accept that, but Elder Scrolls is a big deal to a lot of people. So okay,
in a roundabout way, it's the same thing as the EA conference, isn't it? There's a lot there that a lot of people give, they care about, that we might not necessarily do.
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
Just substitute out Elder Scrolls for football games.
That's not to say I wouldn't have actually preferred them to better break up some of the Elder Scrolls stuff, so that it didn't feel like we got quite a lot of that kind of stuck together in one section of the.
I don't know. I feel like I'd rather have seen it all clumped together. It's like, right, it's Elder Scrolls
I'm one of those
time.
people who. Yeah, I'm one of those people who played Skyrim and enjoyed it-ish, but felt like it kind of wasn't really the game I wanted it to be back in 2011. And I certainly feel now like, no, I'm not really doing it for me anymore. I don't feel like I need to play Skyrim again at all. But I get that other people do. It's just, I think this conference would feel a lot different if they had asked something else to throw in there as well. So yeah, I do get what you mean. And it'd be nice to see Bethesda as publishers doing more of that, because they had a period where they had the Saboteur was them, and Wet, and a few other games. Where there was other stuff. I mean, there was what the heck was the Team Fortress style multiplayer shooter?
That's a very large question.
Blink.
That's the one. Thank you. They had that as well, and all right, that didn't do great guns, and the Saboteur and Wet were kind of niche hits, but didn't really. But even EA squeeze and EA originals in there. Yeah, I could stand Bethesda to do something similar, because if their big series aren't for you at the moment, the show becomes a questionable watch.
Which did they announce a single new IP? They didn't, did they?
No.
Sequels and extras, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right then, so Bethesda, and before we disappear, we'll have a brief mention of the conference, which should forever be known as Maria Zook is a phenomenal actor. I just so for those who are like, who is Maria Zook? Maria Zook began presenting the Devolver Digital 15-minute press conference, Mickey Take, with a view of two sort of top-down Smash TV type games, but her performance as Nina Struthers was just gobsmacking, and the people that followed her on stage just could not hold a candle to her performance and her dedication and her delivery. She was incredible. And even delivering lines like check a look it just tripped off the tongue. Like, it wasn't even given like this degree of kind of comedy build-up. It was just as if that was a corporate buzzword.
Yeah.
And to me, this just was a showcase of what a phenomenal actor she is, because she was amazing in this. I can't give her enough props for this.
So I didn't actually realise that Devolver Digital's conference was a 15-minute segment within the pre-show that Twitch were running for E3. Because all of it was so bananas that I actually kind of thought the whole thing was being done by Devolver Digital. So I was under the impression 4 hours later that this was still Devolver Digital going, because they had bizarre wrestling sequences with people in costumes just doing surreal stuff. They had a cube-headed doctor sat in a chair just waffling nonsense at the screen on multiple occasions. It was bizarre. And to say that the Devolver Digital section, the 15-minute conference, was possibly the most bizarre, but the bit that had me just grinning from ear to ear the entire time.
It was very digitizer, I thought.
It was really on the money.
Of Paul Rose, definitely.
They just wanted to lampoon press conferences at E3, and I'm someone who enjoys the press conferences at E3. I don't always think they're well done. I don't always think they are great, but I always enjoy watching them. It should be obvious, for all the reasons that I've talked about, for the games mainly, but for the stuff that goes wrong, for the stuff that goes right, and just for the conversations that come out of it. But they nailed this, and as you say, the character of Nina Struthers just had exactly the right presence, exactly the right sort of straight-faced take on corporate buzzwords, the attitude towards the product and towards gamers, and just the whole thing was, just really well done, I thought. Probably not to everyone's tastes humor-wise. Obviously, some people aren't going to want that kind of...
Oh no, people are going to have to turn off 15 minutes worth of something that's not for them.
Well, it's funny you say that it's
exactly,
not to... It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Opinion was very divided in our front room about this one.
Yes.
I thought it was funny, but I felt like every joke was belaboured about a minute longer than it had to be. Laura was not enjoying it one bit. Laura found it very... I don't know about forced, but she wasn't laughing. She was just scowling at the screen, like she wasn't enjoying it at all. She said, and again, this is another quote. This is this episode's quote from Laura. Some shitty art student wasted 15 minutes of my life. I thought it was all right. It was funny, and I get what they were trying to do, but it went on a bit too long, and it was Nina Struthers. Yeah, brilliant, no question. Nina Struthers amazing, but every single other person on that stage is like, why are you here?
I think she destroyed everybody that came on afterwards, just because I don't know. There was seemingly like a level of knowing about the people that followed her, and kind of, I'm playing this character with a degree of ham and circus, and yet when she was there, that was just a really ferocious sort of very IT crowd kind of delivery.
Exactly,
it was brilliant.
yeah.
Hello, computer. So
yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, it was like a weird
actually...
art project for me. Like, I enjoyed it, sort of. Someone's been watching too much like weird YouTube, I think.
It all comes back around to YouTube. Is that who you're soaring up in the background?
Maybe, yeah. Every YouTube.
Yeah, I will, as I was saying to James, I will visit you in prison a few times and then learn to forget you, and then someone will find me in a pub and I'll go, Twin Humanities? That's a name I've not heard in a long time.
I'll tell you what then. I'll tell you what I did enjoy from this show. I enjoyed Suda51's minute of, what? I'm not doing this. Fuck off. Leave me alone. That was funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I think I don't watch any of this type of comedy on YouTube, so that wouldn't be the reference I would pull. I'd relate it back to political comedy.
Bit Chris Morris, I thought.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Those sorts of shows from the 90s, essentially. That kind of, we're going to point out the joke and then we're going to take it way too far. And just keep going after it until it becomes not funny and then funny again. And that's exactly what this was for me. There's absolutely a point at which probably it ran on too long, but then they kept going with it to the point where I ended up with a big grin on my face again. I actually wish they hadn't shown any games, because I think it would have made the point about their press conference more. If they just had no games to show, turned up and did that, it would have made the satire even more full for me. But they did. They had Ruiner, which is a game I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. And then they had a top-down Serious Sam game.
Which looked fun.
Which looked fun. Serious Sam, not a series of games I've played any of. But yeah, looked like good fun. So, the games they had looked great. But yeah, I kind of wish to follow the theme of the press conference. I kind of wish they just hadn't put them in there at all and just put them out separately as trailers, completely separately. But I get.
What's the fighting game that Devolver have got coming up that everybody's really looking forward to?
Absolver.
Yeah.
I just see wallpaper on my PC at the moment. The masked fighters. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Well, thank you to everybody for listening, or thank you to the one person that's listening. Thank you to James for joining us again.
My pleasure.
Thank you for Patrick for sort of coming and going a little bit and keeping his phone on and probably having a Degu on his shoulder and just inviting people round to talk about things that you combine B&Q and Home Base.
It is my week off.
They're not just Put placards in the garden. Don't come near. Don't come near. And then when they get near the door, don't come near.
But it's like, but I didn't see the sign. They're in the back garden. Oh.
But to people that are listening, do come back. Do come back. Do come back. Because we'll be doing like the Ubisoft stuff. So. Whew.
And the PC show.
Oh, we've got that. Which one's first? Is it
PC show?
PC first.
Right. I'm gonna have to watch
I don't
that.
know whether we reckon we could squeeze the PC show into some minutes before Ubisoft or whether it's
No.
Separate, there's quite a lot there, to be honest.
There's a lot there.
I've still got to watch it, so I've clearly got some.
Quite a lot there. Quite a lot there.
Right. Thank you all. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Bye, bye.
Yeah, bye.
Do excuse me. That's my house phone. I'll be one moment.
So unprofessional.
Ugh.
I have unplugged everything to come on here with that level of commitment.
Hi.
It's probably one of his degus or one of his rodents just demanding more water. It's probably them screaming. It's probably not a phone at all. He's just doing this just to.
It's probably his mate Pete
Pass the
Hines
time.
come round to play some Skyrim VR.
Probably Jim Ryan having a chat with him. Cross compatibility. No. You know that EA, they rang me up and they said, do you want to have a large base of games for £20 a year? And I was like, that's not good enough value. And people were going to me, backwards compatibility. And I was like, you've got PlayStation now. Why would you just stick a disc in when you could pay a lot of money and stream it?
Don't pick them up anymore. Yeah, we if it's like worst comes to worst, we'll smash it up into bits and stick it in bins.
He's actually having a conversation. This is so rude. I'm sorry, people at home. Really, really sorry.
This is a disturbing conversation as well.
It's serial killers meeting.
Worst comes to the worst, we'll smash it all to bits. That sounds. Paddy running some kind of racket.
I think so. I think he has people in his basement. Polystyrene people that he's made with his bewitching experiments. This is what happens when you drink tea, folks.
It's small. No, it's very, very small. I am.
Well, at least we've covered that base earlier.
Just taking a brief pause. That's okay.
Got that out of the way.
So I might have to be sort of quick at the door.
Like an acorn.
But yeah, you're more than welcome to borrow it if you want. Cool.
I hope
I'll
this
see you
stays.
soon. Bye. Sorry, chaps. Did you catch much of that?
We
Cut
caught
it
none of
out.
it.
Put it at the end.
Oh,
You
no.
filthy bitch.
I'm making a note. And yeah, the doorbell may go ding dong in about 10-15 minutes. Terrible, isn't it? It is. Right, I'm going to just take a break quite there because my sister's here for the saw. I'll be right back.
His family are made of murder.
That phone call followed by what he's just said. That very disturbing.
I will still visit him in prison though. For a few times, and then learn to forget him, and then maybe discover.
Yeah, I mean,
discover
you don't want the attachment to go on too long. You want to, let him go.
Yeah. Twin Humanities. That's a name I've not heard in a long time. leans back into pub chair. Oh, I don't know. Patrick.
You need plug thing in. Yeah. Okay. Thing. Okay. On the end here, we've got a little Allen key. Right. Allen key. Just like give it 2 or 3 turns in each one of those. Yeah. And then blade. Blade goes in with the.
I feel like I'm about to witness a murder with my ears.
I think I can feel time screaming at me.
Sit it down. Press the little thing. You want to lock it? You can press that in as well. Yeah. But I'd advise you to do that. It'll take a bit of time. So you've got to go through, but it will go through. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I reckon, because the ends are like solid sides, so I reckon once you've got those off, the back.
Hi, sorry, can't have a conversation. Bye. I just.
I've kicked a few
Yeah. Smaller, 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 smaller. Tiny. Zip it. Leave.
So, one saw. Enjoy, have fun. Like I say, if the saw blade comes out fucked at the end, doesn't matter. Only saw blades. Okay, kill it.
Have fun with a saw.
I don't need it anytime
It's
soon.
different mentality down there.
Madness, utter madness.
It's a shame I don't know the banjo, because I could just play it over the top of all this conversation.
Yeah, we just got all the technical levels and
What you need to do is you need to pin them down with nails, and then you can start removing their limbs.
stuff. I'll say hello to the fans. Bye.
I hope the fans caught that.
Hello.
Hi.
My sister and her boyfriend say hello to the fans.
You can cut that out as well and tag it on the end so people can know just what we put up with.
That sounded like you were giving a tutorial on how to dismember people, to be honest.
How do you know I wasn't? Sofa might be code.
So you got your time signatures and shit.
Oh, yeah, first thing I did.
Fine.
Strong goodbyes, everyone.
Vix is in.
Im- 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 im-